Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and I'm in the summertime mood, and anytime I think about summer nails, I love fun fruit nails. So as my base, I'm going to be using these two gel polish colors from Attain. If you haven't heard about Attain, they're a newer brand started by Liz from the Nail Hub. She's an educator here on YouTube and she has a lot of amazing information on the safety of using gels. So these are hypoallergenic gels, but we'll talk a little bit about it more when I get into the process. But for the fruit, I have the May Mani by Me box from Maniology. I was a longtime subscriber and then I just felt really overwhelmed with all the things that I had, so I unsubscribed. But the May box got me because it was this really cute fruit themed. So I had to buy this box and I'm super excited to use these plates because I think they fit in perfectly for the set that I want to do for today's nails. And jumping straight into this mani, I am wearing full coverage tips, but I will be starting with a layer of gel base first before I get into my colors. So I've got my Attain Adhesion, which is their gel base. And as you can see from the formula, it is a bit thicker than some other gel bases, but it is really easy to use. It's self-level, so I wouldn't be intimidated by the thickness. In fact, I think the thickness is an advantage and makes it very beginner friendly because it's thick enough to where it's not going to run on you, so you can take your time a little bit more. And then the brush, it is a round brush, so it kind of tucks right into your cuticle area and it makes it easier to apply. And not only that, I find that I like the thicker formula because not only is it really good for a thin layer for before you put on your gel polish color so it can adhere better, but I also think for an overlay on your natural nail, so if you're not wearing full coverage tips, you can just put a thicker layer of this adhesion on your natural nails if you'd like to rock them, but you still want to protect them. This is also really great for that. So it's got a lot of really great purposes, and I have used it. I haven't done a video on it, but I have used it to apply my full coverage tips as well. So many uses for it. I highly recommend it, but I'm going to go ahead and do my thumbs separately. I went ahead and gave that a full cure in my mini lamp from Attain for a full 60 seconds. And so now I'm going to do the rest of my nails. I normally do my thumb separately anyway, just because when I lay my hand flat, my thumb fits sideways. But with this mini lamp, I can't fit all my fingers plus my thumb anyway. So that's why I just went ahead and did the full cure on my thumb for the 60 seconds. And then I'm going to do the rest of my nails. Instead of just brushing on my gel base, I like to try to scrub it in the nail a little bit just to get into any of those nooks and crannies. This is especially important if you're doing this on your natural nails as an overlay, because you'd want to rough up the surface of your natural nails a little bit. So you want the gel base to kind of sink in there to kind of grip onto your natural nail for better adhesion. For my ring finger, I needed a milky white color because I wanted to do that as a base for a gingham pattern. So I'm going to be using this Doi Nudi White, which I got from Sweetie Nail Supply in my latest haul. If you haven't checked out that video, I'll leave it up above in the cards if you want to see all the fun goodies that I got. But this is my new favorite milky white just because it self levels very quickly. It's not patchy at all and it's super easy to use. So I'm actually going to end up doing 3 total layers of this just because I want to build it up. I didn't want like a bright white, but I wanted it a little more opaque, which is why I decided just to do 3 layers of this rather than using just a regular opaque white gel polish. If you don't have a milky white gel polish color, you can always mix your own. If you just start with an opaque white color and then you can mix in a little bit of gel base, I would start small first. So start with like a drop of gel base, mix it up, test that out. If it's still too opaque, you can mix in another drop or two, mix it up, test it out, and keep going until you get your desired milkiness to it. So I went ahead and finished up the other 2 layers off camera. So now we're going to get into my colors. So the first one is Periwinkle from Attain. I've been really loving Periwinkle lately, and this one is so beautiful. So as I'm removing my brush from the bottle, I'm wiping one side of the brush on the neck of the bottle. I only want gel polish on one side of the brush because you don't want too much gel polish on your brush or you could risk flooding your cuticle area and sidewalls. Also, in order to prevent flooding, I start with the brush about the halfway point of my nail. I brush it downwards towards my free edge, and then I'll slowly work my way upwards towards my cuticle area. Having the rounded brush in these bottles definitely helps tuck into the cuticle area and sidewalls to get cleaner lines. I always like to just get as close as possible, but I don't want to risk getting any product on my skin. So a lot of times I'll get as close as possible with my gel polish brush, and then I'll take a separate liner brush, and then I'll clean up those lines and get a little bit closer when I don't want to risk it using the brush in the bottle. If you do accidentally get some product on your skin, just make sure you're cleaning that up, wiping it off before you cure that onto your skin. The thing I love about using these Attain products is Liz accounts for human error because we're all human. You'll see in this video where there are a couple times where I accidentally get some gel polish on my skin and I just clean it up. So these gels are hypoallergenic. Having said that, though, that doesn't mean you don't have to use caution, because if you have a gel allergy or gel sensitivity, you still need to be really careful. So I recommend that you test it on a small patch of your nail first. So maybe like 48 to 72 hours, make sure you don't have any reactions to it. And then if you don't have any issues with that, then maybe you can proceed with doing like a gel polish manicure. But definitely test it out. Even though it's hyperallergenic, it doesn't mean that you can't react to it. It's just maybe less likely. And always keep in mind that everyone's allergies are different. So, what works for someone may not work for you, or vice versa. Or just because you've been using a product for years doesn't mean you can't develop an allergy. So, it's always better to just be careful and proceed with caution. But getting back to my mani, I'm starting with layer 2 of Periwinkle on my thumb. I had almost full coverage in one layer, but I felt like in person I could see just a little bit of my nail line depending on the lighting, which is why I decided to go ahead and do a second layer of this color. But I feel like you could leave it at one layer and be really happy with it just because it is such a creamy and beautiful color. You could probably tell from the first layer that it was just very smooth. There wasn't any patchiness to it. It just applied so evenly and so beautifully. Especially if you have shorter nails, you need less of that color for opacity. So if you have shorter nails, I think you would definitely get full opacity in one layer. But the longer your nails are, you probably do need that second layer if you want full opacity. But even with one layer at my nail length or longer, I think it's beautiful coverage. So anyway, I'm going ahead and applying that second layer. I want to cap my free edge as well, make sure everything is smooth and even. I will, when I'm done with that, I will turn my finger upside down for about 5 to 10 seconds just to help it level a little bit, because this is going to be my final layer, and then I'm going to cure it for a full 60 seconds. I went ahead and did 2 layers of periwinkle on my pinky as well, and I did that off camera. So now we're going to get into my last color, which is grapefruit. This color just screams summertime to me. I would consider this like a neon pastel coral, and it really gives me like sherbet vibes. I don't know why, but the past couple of years, I have been really into oranges and all shades of them. That was never really a color that I typically gravitated towards, but the past couple of years, I'm really digging them. I mean, just for my nails, I get really like adventurous with my nails. Like there are colors, there's colors that I don't prefer, but I don't think there's any colors that I won't wear on my nails. But I'm more adventurous with my nails than I am with my makeup. So let me know down below, are you that way as well? Are you more adventurous with your nails? Are you more adventurous with your makeup, or neither? Are you just neutral all the way? Now that I finished my base color on all my nails, I'm going to work on a very simple gingham pattern on my ring finger. It's not going to be anything fancy. It may not exactly be gingham, but it's going to be gingham-like. So I'm going to be using Periwinkle for the stripes. So I have these little disposable palette sheets. So I have a little bit of that. I put some Periwinkle on it because it's going to be easier to use my liner brush. So I'm just using my liner brush to run it through that gel polish to pick up that color, but I don't want too much color. And then I'm just going to draw a line straight down the center of my nail. And I am really terrible at straight lines, plus I'm naturally shaky. So I find that using a longer liner brush and just doing one quick stroke is easier than doing a shorter liner brush and taking multiple different strokes. That's what I find works best for me. But I'm going to make it a little bit wider. So even if it isn't the straightest, I can kind of correct that as I'm making it wider. But I like to just start with that first line and then widen it from there. I don't want it too wide because I want to fit in 3 of those vertical stripes down my nail. So I'm going to do one to the right side of the middle line, and then I'll do another one to the left side. And that's really all I'm going to do for that part of the nail. And they don't have to be exact matches, but I'm trying to make them as close to thickness as possible just so it doesn't look a little off. And I wanted this to be very subtle, which is why I used the milky white as my background rather than just like an opaque white color, because I love the subtleness of it. By the way, the brush that I'm using for this is from Color Me Carol. It's, I believe, the 11 millimeter brush. If it's still available, I'll leave it linked down below in the description. I think it's perfect for what I'm doing because it's a good length. It's thin, but it's not super thin. Usually I like super thin brushes, but because I'm trying to do a little bit of thickness to my nails, it makes it a little bit easier to have not a super thin brush. But once I had those 3 lines, I went ahead and fully cured them for 60 seconds because I'm going to do horizontal lines across them. And if I mess up, I'll have to wipe that off, and I don't want to redo all the lines. So since I'm happy with the vertical lines, I went ahead and froze them. And that way, if I mess up on the horizontal lines, I only have to wipe those off and I don't have to redo everything all over again. So I'm doing the same process. So is I'm drawing a line horizontally across my nail. I'm just doing one thin line. I'm making sure it's connecting from sidewall to sidewall. And then once I have that base line, that's when I'll start shading in, making it a little bit wider. I don't want it too wide because I want to make sure that I fit in. I can't remember if I did like 3 or 4 lines, but I want to make sure that I can fit them all in without them looking too thick. After I have my gingham pattern finished, I'm now going to work on some reverse stamping. So I have these 2 stamping plates. They're from the May Mani by Me box. I bought these because as soon as I saw the box, I knew I had to have it just because I love the little fruit designs. I think they're perfect for the summertime. And sometimes I don't feel like drawing the fruit because I'm not really that artistic at all. So I'm going to do reverse stamping though. I enjoy doing reverse stamping, but a lot of times, honestly, I don't have the patience for it. But starting with the outline, so I'm taking my BAM white, I applied the polish to my design. I'm going to scrape off the polish at a 45-degree angle, and then I'm going to gently roll my stamper onto that image. I'm removing any of the excess polish that isn't my image with my scraper card. And then I'm going to let it dry a little bit. You don't want to polish on top of your stamped image until your first layer is dry, or else you could potentially remove some of that image. So I don't have the color names in front of me, but I'll leave them down below in the description. Sorry about that. But this is the orange, so I'm going to start filling in the peach. So I'm just going to use a little bit of that peach. I'm going to put a little bit on my plate just to make it easier so I don't have to use like a separate palette. The design that I picked up on my stamper is dry already. So I'm just taking a liner brush and I'm just going to slowly fill in that peach where I want that peach color. I want to make sure that I'm not dragging my brush and painting on. I'm kind of like dabbing it in, because the more you touch the lines that you stamped, you could potentially lift them and have to start over. So you want to be really careful when you do this and try not to overlap your stamped lines because you could accidentally pick it up. So you don't have to use a liner brush. You could use like a toothpick or a orange wood stick, whatever you want to use, a dotting tool. But I just thought a liner brush would be easier because these are little small stamps. So once I've filled in the peach, I'm going to use a little bit of the green. And I believe this one actually came in the Mani by Me box that for this. Oh, here we go. Here are the colors. And there's a little leaf on the peach. So I'm going to use that green to fill in that little leaf. So I don't have to, it's not overlapping with the peach color that I just used. So I don't have to wait. I'm going to go ahead and fill in that little leaf. But after I finish filling in the color, I don't want to stamp right away. I want to make sure that the polish is fully dry before I apply it to my nail, which is why I took out two separate stampers, because I know I'm going to do multiple images. While this one is drying, I can put that to the side and start on the second one. And that way, like it's a little bit quicker rather than just using one jelly stamper and waiting and doing another one and then waiting. Like I just don't have the patience for that. This one, oh, so this one is because next to the peach there's a little flower, so I decided to use like a little bit of this purplish blue color to fill in that flower. So it can be really fun. Like if you love coloring, like coloring books, things like that, it can be really fun to do. But it's just a matter of like you can't just stamp right away. You have to wait for the polish to dry. But if you're using stamping polishes, they're typically faster dry anyway. So it's not waiting a super long time, but as I have that off to the side, I'm letting that dry. I'm working on my second image. So I'm going to pick up the image with my stamper and then remove that excess polish. And then once I have the excess polish off the design, I'll let that dry for a few seconds. And then I'm going to go ahead and start filling in the same way I did for the first design. Once my designs are completely dry, I'm ready to stamp them on my nail, but I will say this, because I did a gel polish manicure and gel polish cures with a tacky layer, I'm using that inhibition layer for the stamping to stick to it. If you're doing it on dip powder nails or regular nail polish nails or nails that aren't sticky, you will need a sticky base coat first in order for the stamp to adhere to your nail. Because the reverse stamped image is completely dry, dry isn't going to stick to dry, so you do need something sticky. So I didn't have to use a sticky stamping polish because I have the tacky layer of my gel polish. But just keep in mind, if you're doing reverse stamping on something that isn't tacky, you will need something for the stamped image to adhere to. Sorry, I don't know what that noise was, but going on my thought process, that's why when you're doing regular stamping, just not reverse stamping or anything like that, just straightforward stamping, that's why you have to move a little bit quicker, because the longer you wait, your stamping polish is going to dry on you and it's not going to really transfer onto your nail. Because stamping polish by design is more opaque than a regular nail polish, and it's also a quicker dry. So it's nice that it's a quicker dry because you don't have to wait forever for your design to dry, but you also do have to work a little bit quicker. To finish off my mani, I want to protect everything with a gel top coat. So this is my Attain Shine. This is their newer formula, which is a tack-free formula. So it doesn't have a tacky layer and it's supposed to be shinier than their old formula. So I'm just applying a thin, even layer of this to my entire nail. Now this is a thinner formula, but it doesn't run on you, if that makes sense. So when I'm applying a gel top coat, I like to make sure that I'm capping my free edge first, and then I will apply the top coat to my entire nail. I want to make sure everything is nice and smooth and even. I do my thumb separately as well. So I'm going to do my thumb, cure that for a full 60 seconds, and then I will do the rest of my nails. And with a gel top coat, I don't need to protect my stamp as long as it's completely dry and I'm not just like carelessly dragging my brush over the stamped image. It should be completely fine, but you want to make sure that your stamped image is completely dry. If not, it could smear. If you're not using a gel top coat, you want to protect your stamped image with something. So if you're using a regular top coat, like a regular air dry top coat, you'll need to use like a smudge free top coat, because a regular non gel top coat could smear your image. Or if you're working with dip powder, you'll either want to protect that with a air dry smudge free top coat first and then go in with your dip top coat. Or you can also do a layer of dip base, dip and clear, protect it, activate it, and then do it that way. So there are multiple different options, but I wanted to make sure that I let you know that in my experience, as long as your not dip powder, as long as your stamped image is completely dry, as long as you're not dragging your brush, you should be fine to go straight over your stamped image with a gel top coat without smearing your stamped imaging. As always, I'm going to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles with my Scales of a Mermaid cuticle oil. I'm using the scent What's to Scoop. I love this because it's a nice sherbet scent, so it's really fruity and summery. But I just realized it's a total missed opportunity because I should have used Pasta Fruit Salad Please because I love matching my cuticle oil to my mani. But either way, I love this scent. I also do have an affiliate code with Scales of Mermaid, so if you place an order, you can use code Genie10 to save 10% off your order and support me. So that wraps up today's mani, and if this doesn't put you in the summertime mood, I don't know what will. So I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.